You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show. The preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There, and ladies, things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is the family that loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mother-in-law. We're the great family that loves you, but remember, we don't loan you money. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Today we're going to be talking about a super prolific romance novelist, and she's written a ton of books, and she's got a new one coming out Monday we're going to talk about, but she's also going to give us a lowdown on how she became prolific and got into writing, etc., and maybe you'll learn something too. Her latest book had come out called The Devil's Viking, The Road Devil's MC, book number 3. Marysol James is on the show with us today. We'll be talking to her. Her new book, the book 4 in the series, we'll get into here in a second. We'll get the title from her as well. So we're going to be talking to her about all the insights of what went into her writing books. She was raised in a small town in Canada, or as I like to call it, Canada. I don't know what that means, eh? And it's still a small town at heart, and she's still a small town girl at heart. She's a cancer survivor, cinnamon bun lover, and hardcore caffeine addict. Cheers. Marysol crosses genres in her writing happily and enthusiastically. To date, she's published 30 steamy, sexy, slinky, contemporary, erotic romance novels spread over 5 different series. I just reading those verbs made my nipples hard. Including the Amazon and iBooks best-selling Unseen Emmy, Dangerous Curves, and the Road series, or the Road Devil MC series, evidently written about me. Her books incorporate action, adventure, suspense, military elements, and some surprising plot twists and turns. Oh no, his pants fell off again. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to the show, Marysol. How are you?
Good, thanks, Chris. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. It's going to be fun to have you. Yeah, I read that some of that part. She's published 30 steamy, sexy, slinky, erotic romances.
You know, maybe you should think about recording some romance audiobooks. You've got the voice for it, you know?
Yeah. And then, I don't know, there's a joke there I'm not even going to run with. But my favorite part is why they always have sex on the beach all the time.
None of my characters have ever had sex on a beach.
Really?
I can promise you that. Because it's not, it's not sexy. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, sand gets in all the wrong places, I hear.
Everywhere.
There you go. No one needs that. That's Fridays around here. So give us what's the title of your new book that's coming out Monday for release?
It's called The Devil's Pair, and it's the 4th book of the Road Devil's MC, which is Motorcycle Club series. And yeah, it'll be out Monday on Amazon exclusively.
There you go. Exclusively on the Amazonian. So give us the .coms. Where can people find out more about you on the interwebs?
The best place is my website, which is marysoljames.com, and everything is there. All my media, all my socials, all my books, my newsletter, my email, everything is there. So if anybody ever wants to find me, go to my website. It's a one-stop shop.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside the new book?
Oh, well, it's hard to say without getting into the first 3 books, but in a nutshell, I can say that it's a story about twins who enjoy being with a woman at the same time. So there's your sound bite. It's
with one woman at the same time?
Yeah. It's a book about threesomes, basically.
A threesome book. Is that what they call it? I don't know why they call it. The pair, I think you said.
It'd be like a thruple, except part of the thruple is twin motorcycle club brothers.
There you go. Well,
so this is where the sexy, steamy, slinky thing definitely comes in.
My nipples are hard again.
There we go. But I'm doing my job.
There you go. So What is this? This now this is four of a 4-book series, correct?
No, it'll be 10 books in the
Okay, so you're
series.
gonna
So
keep
it's
right on
not even
trucking.
halfway through. No, every single member of the motorcycle club is going to get his own book. So
Ah.
that's the way that my series mostly work. I introduce the cast of characters in the first
Mm-hmm.
book, and then every book in the series after that. Um, the couple of the first book, their story carries on throughout the
Mm-hmm.
whole series, but every book is focused on a different couple.
There you go. And well, in this case, it's a couple of dudes who are twins, eh?
Yeah, twin brothers. Twin
There you go.
brothers. Eh?
Well, everybody's.
Your Canadian accent is really good.
I'm pulling out my Canadian, yeah,
Yeah, I
boot,
hear that.
the boot.
About eh?
There you go. I'm a big Rush fan and Second City fan. I love Canada.
Oh,
Canada's nice.
oh,
Everyone says
yeah.
I'm Ricky on Trailer Park Boys, but I don't know. I haven't decided.
Mm,
But
mm.
I always think I'm the other guy because I used to drink a lot of vodka and carry around drinks with me all the time. But
You
I don't know.
can't be Canadian without the beer. I'm
Without the
sorry.
beer, yeah,
Yeah,
gotta have
it's
the
got to be
beer.
beer.
So tell us about your upbringing. How were you raised? When did you know you wanted to be a writer, or when did you start writing?
Well, like you said, I was raised in a small town in Canada called Georgetown,
Hmm.
Ontario, and the oldest of three kids, working class parents, and education was really, really stressed at my house. So I went on to university, got a master's degree
Wow.
in international law. And so then I basically started my career. I was in Poland teaching English for a couple of years, and then I moved over to Guangzhou, China. I got into managing an English school, and then
Wow.
I moved over to Hong Kong for 5 years, where I managed a bigger English school with a bigger staff. So I went really international, but also really business focused.
Hmm.
That was really my thing. And then from Hong Kong, I moved to Warsaw, Poland, where I worked as the chief operational director of a huge publishing house. And so basically, I was brought up to work in business, international stuff, and that is what I did for quite a while.
Hmm. Did you do any writing? Was there any, writing sort of inspiration going on? Were you thinking about any, writing anything?
Well, it's kind of sad in a way because when I was little, like really little, I
Hmm.
wanted to be a writer. That
Oh
was my
wow.
dream. And when I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was really
Oh
sick for
wow.
3 years. I lived in
Wow.
the hospital.
Oh
And
wow.
part of what they suggested to me was that I write. And
Oh.
so I wrote a whole book about a girl who lived in the hospital. And it was this full-length fiction novel
Hmm.
that I don't know where it is now. I would love to read it. And that was when I thought to myself, I'd love to be a writer. I think that would be a
Yeah.
great thing to do. But my parents really discouraged that,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And like I
How did
said, then I got on the master's international law business track,
There
and I
you go.
lost it a little bit. But
Huh.
before I got into romance writing, I did publish a collection of short stories, and I did publish two full length contemporary literature novels that were across the board. The critics and the reviews loved them, but nobody bought them except the critics.
Well, the critics
So,
bought them. Well, that's kind of
and I
hefty.
know. And so that was when I thought, well, this is so at the time I was working in business, I was working in management, and I was just writing for myself for fun, but there was no money in it at all
Yeah.
until the romance kind of happened.
And what brought you into the romance genre? Was that always kind of your thing from when you started writing,
Mm,
or?
Never,
Oh.
I had never read a romance novel.
Huh?
I had never even watched a soap opera, although my grandmother did, and she kind of kept me up with all the plots.
Days
Not that
of
I
your
knew what she was.
lives.
Oh God, and it's just intricate. I mean, she was into Dallas and Hotel, I think, but
Huh?
um, but I was working as the chief operational director at the time
Mm-hmm.
when I lived in Poland, and I got sick with cancer a second time,
Oh no.
and I was promptly fired.
Oh
It
wow.
was a company, yeah, based in Paris, based in France, and they just let me go. And I had a decent severance package, 2 years, but I was
Mm-hmm.
unemployed.
Yeah.
So
Plus, you had cancer, and you need health
a second,
insurance.
no, well, I mean, I lived in Poland, so the health
Oh.
insurance was really good.
Okay.
But no, so I was basically flat on my back, dealing with chemo,
Oh
nothing to
no.
do, nowhere to go. And a couple of friends of mine said, I had just finished writing my second quite heavy contemporary literature book. And I said to them, I don't know what to do with myself now. And they said, well, why don't you write the exact opposite of everything you've ever written? So anything to do with law, academia, business, really heavy short stories, really full length novels about really dark stuff. Why don't you write a romance? And I
Oh.
said, I wouldn't even know how to begin that. I haven't read a romance. I know nothing about romance. And they said, exactly, exactly. It's so not you. Treat it like a little mental health vacation.
There you
Treat
go.
it like almost a joke. So we laughed the whole way through it, my two friends and I. We made it as
Wow.
stereotypical as possible. It was a sexy cowboy romance, and there was a city girl who inherited a ranch, and she shows up and everybody hates her and she hates everybody. And we just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I wrote it in 2 weeks.
Oh.
And I thought that was the end of it. But my friends said, no, 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 you've got to publish it. So I said, okay. So I put it on Amazon, self-published it,
Oh, yeah.
and just forgot about it, completely forgot about it until money started landing in my bank account,
You're like, what's
like
going on?
significant, like thousands of dollars. And
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking, what on earth? So I went to the Amazon Analytics, and this thing had turned into a summer beach best-selling novel
Oh
that
wow, a
year.
beach read. There
Yeah,
you
it
go.
was a beach read.
There you
They
go.
were bringing the sexy cowboys to the beach. And I thought, what on earth happened here? So my friends then said, well, start a Facebook page because people are going to be looking for you. They've bought your
Yeah.
book. Now they're going to know about the author. So I
Yeah.
started a Facebook page. And suddenly people were saying, loved your book. It was so great. I loved it so much. It was light. It was sexy. Where's the next book?
Where's the next book?
And I'm thinking, what
What?
next book? I mean, I
Yeah.
barely wrote the first book. Don't you people know I wrote this because I was flat on my back from chemo and I laughed the whole way through it? So, but I had nothing to do. So I wrote the second book and I put it on Facebook. The book is now for sale. Here's the link on Amazon, self-published, blah, blah. It was a bestseller. And then
Wow.
suddenly they were saying, where's book three? And I'm thinking, I mean, by this point, I'm sort of like, I've earned $20,000 on 3 books in
Holy
just a
crap.
few months. It was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It was amazing. So then I got tired of the sexy cowboys and I started my next series, which is called the Fighting for Love series, which is about MMA fighters. These guys own an MMA gym. They're karate guys, they're boxing guys. So I did that, and that was a bestseller.
Oh wow.
And by this point, I had beaten cancer
Mm-hmm.
and I was ready to go back to work, like looking for another management position.
Mm-hmm.
And then it occurred to me as the next royalty, payments came in that I was earning more money on this joke, this romance thing that I was doing
Yeah.
than I had ever earned in management at that point.
Oh wow.
So I thought to myself, well, like, why would what am I doing? I can work at home. I had two small boys by this point.
Mm-hmm.
My time is my own. I have the fan base. I've already written 4 books. I think I have a full-time job. Why am I looking for one? And honestly, Chris, that's fell into romance writing. I just fell into it. So
That is awesome.
it's a classic case of sometimes a job finds you, even when you're not looking for it.
There you go. That kind of happened to our podcast back I think 5 years into our podcast, things seemed to be slowing down and it didn't seem to really be being a thing. And I think it was 5 or 7 years in. And so we were focused on a bunch of other stuff. And then we started noticing, well, Apple came out with their thing where they started promoting podcasts and
Yeah.
decided to become a central hub.
Yes.
And I started getting these messages like you where I'm like, there's lots of downloads going on. We haven't put up anything in like a year or two on the podcast. What's going on? Like, why is there's, and they just kept flooding in. I'm like, people are watching 2-year-old content and they're liking it and they're like, we better go make some more stuff for those people. It's kind of what reawoken the podcast after 7 years. We were just
That's
like,
great. That's
well,
great.
shit, if people like something, it's, and the content was all like a year or two old. We'd kind of taken a break and done like one or two here and there, but I'm just like, they're watching 2 to 3 year old episodes on technology. And so, yeah, it's a wonderful thing to have when your audience
But what
finds
were
you.
you doing? What were you kind of doing in between? Like you said, you were doing other stuff.
Well, we have multiple different revenue streams. So we do YouTube videos, review products,
Yeah.
and so we were making really good money on YouTube at the time, back in the good old days, and so that was a whole different thing. So we were kind of focusing on that, but yeah,
Yeah.
once Apple re-injected a thing back into podcasting, it really took off, and it was crazy. Yeah, it
It's
was.
funny how one thing will just change the whole sort of
Yeah,
course of your professional life, isn't it?
definitely. So how come these covers always have to be so salacious?
Oh, yeah. Because of my readers. Listen, Chris, I know my demographic. I know my readers. I know what they like. I know what they're after. I know what they buy.
Yeah, it's just people are climbing all over each other in the pictures and stuff.
I
I'm just
know,
like,
and
oh,
his shirt is ripped off. Her
yes.
shirt's coming
And
off her
no one's got their
shoulder.
shirt on in any of these photos.
Nobody,
Yeah.
nobody. Do you know, actually, I've had to, there's been a few places, like one of my series is on audiobook. The
Uh-huh.
Unseen Enemy series is on audiobook. And I couldn't use two of my original covers because
Really?
even though the covers are fine for Amazon ebook and print book,
Uh-huh.
the audiobook is on ACX, which is then put onto Amazon. And ACX has different standards. So
Uh-huh.
basically, I uploaded all my covers, and two of them were rejected. So I had to design entirely new covers for two of my audiobooks. So yeah, they dip. Some of them do probably go a little step too far in some ways.
There you go. It's always funny when you look at romance novel covers because you're like, well,
I
that leaves
know.
nothing to the imagination there. So,
Oh,
but I suppose it gets people to read it and get enticed by it. I noticed you use tattoos on a lot of folks.
I do.
Is that a big
Yeah.
theme?
Well, because my guys tend to be ex-military or
Ah,
bodyguards or special ops or motorcycle club guys or karate guys, fighters, and bouncers. What
uh-huh.
you'll find is the majority of these guys who work in these professions tend
Yeah,
to be quite tatted up. So yes, definitely,
they do the tats. There
they
you go.
do the tats.
So now this is a part of a 4 book series that will eventually be, I think you said, up to 10. Tell us
Yes.
about the other 3 books in the series.
Well, it's actually kind of funny because I wrote the first book, and then my readers were telling me, "Oh my God, you must be so influenced by Sons of Anarchy." And do you know, to this day, I have never watched Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, wow.
So I know that I probably got my idea to go into the MC series because I think Sons of Anarchy was just starting to get hot around that point. So it was
Hmm.
something I'd heard about. But in terms of the story that I've written, um, my guys are former one percenter motorcycle club guys.
Hmm.
And the first book begins about a year after the new president, named Wolf Connor, has determined to take the club straight. So they've dropped all of their dirty blood contract money kind of
Hmm.
situation. They're out of the drugs, they're out of the drug running, they're out of the gun running, they're out of the prostitution, and they're trying to just live off their tattoo parlor, their bar, and their garage.
Hmm.
So this is the premise. This is where it begins. These guys are hardcore, but the ones who have decided to remain in the club are really trying to live life like they're paying taxes, and they're really trying to be on the up and up. The problem with, I think anybody can say, with having had a bit of a past, when you try to go straight, sometimes the past starts to drag you back.
Oh,
And this is what the first, second, third, fourth books, this is the thread through the entire series, is these guys keep trying to do the right thing and nobody will let them do the right thing.
yeah.
So I have planned the entire 10-book series. So I know where this inevitable kind of car crash is going to happen and when and what it's going to be. But this kind of looming sense of dread and almost sort of destiny begins in the very first book, and it will just build over the series.
There you go. It's like Godfather 3. Just when I think I'm out, they drag me back in.
That's exactly what it
sort of
is.
thing. Yeah,
That's
which is what I
exactly,
keep
and the thing.
which is what I
Sorry.
keep telling my judge. I'm like, I tried to be good, but then I was bad
But
again.
it's everybody else.
It's
Well, and
everybody else. It's not my fault.
this is what keeps happening to these guys is, dead bodies keep turning up
Oh
and
yeah,
murder, and
it's
they have to
Fridays
keep
around
killing
here.
people. Exactly, right?
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
call it Mondays before caffeine, but um, like these poor guys, they're really like honestly, they're trying so hard to do the right thing and be the good guys, and everybody's like, yeah, no, we don't want you like that. We don't want you to
Yeah,
be the good guys. You got to
yeah.
be the badasses.
We're trying to stop all the murdering.
There are so many dead bodies in this series. I mean, I just keep killing people left and right.
Wow.
It's so satisfying.
Who hurt you as a child? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Sounds like my backyard right now.
There's something so cool about as a writer being able to just off terrible people in the worst ways you can
Are you
imagine.
married?
Not anymore.
Okay,
No,
well,
no,
yeah.
no,
I would joke with
no.
some of the married romance novels that are always murdering people off, and I'm just like, does your husband keep one eye open at night when you know?
I suppose it is worrying to be in a relationship with me
I'd be a
because
little bit worried if
I'm so creative. I'm so creative with it as well. So
we've had some ladies on the show that in their novels, if someone in life screws with them, they'll put them in their novel and kill them.
you know what? Good friends of mine in Poland gave me a sign. I don't know if actually, you know what? It's literally right here. It's above my desk. Can you see that?
Let's see here.
Careful. It's backwards. Careful, or you'll end up in my
In my
novel.
novel. I
Somebody
like
gave me
that.
that as a gift, and it's right above my desk. This is my writing area where I'm sitting, and it's right there in front of me. And every once in a while, I think, "Oh, you mother! Yeah, you're
Oh,
going in my book. You're going in my book, and I'm going to kill you 2 books from now." So,
slice you
and
up
I
into
do,
slice
and
you
I
up into
do.
pieces and everything.
Well, and
Uh,
also I torture a lot of my characters as
wow,
well.
man.
So like I'll skin them, I'll drown them. You know what I mean?
What?
They live. They live. They're
I thought
fine. No,
this
no,
was
they're
supposed to
fine.
be romantic.
It is. It is. You have to read it to understand.
So,
But
so
these MC boys are not. Yeah, they're not choir boys.
there you go. Well, it's hard to change your stripes. What is that saying? You can't take the ghetto out of the boy.
Well,
It's
it's
hard
like
to change your stripe.
yeah. I mean, in my case, you can take the girl out of Canada. Can't take the Canada out of the girl. So,
Yeah.
I played hockey as a kid.
Oh, there you go. Well, that'll give you a spirit of murdering.
I'm still a little bit elbows out, in the street. So
Ah,
I'm
there you
still
go.
shoulder barge people who won't move. So
That or if
yeah.
you got to get through, Target or something with, elbows out.
Well, living
Sneak
in
over.
China, like getting on and off the public transport in China, it was
Hmm.
elbows out all the way. Otherwise, you were just literally kind of like pushed back,
Oh
back on the
yeah.
wave of people. Yeah, yeah.
Thank
So you're
God
right.
I'm tall and broad, so I just push my way through anything. And if it was a bunch of China people, I don't know, I just post my arms on all their heads and lift myself
You
up and
could.
just kind of
I'm
ride
only
them.
5'4", and I
Yeah.
still towered over them. So you would be really fine.
I'm 6'2", and I can give people a
Uh,
look like you best get out of my way.
oh, there we
And
go.
and they go, he has resting bitch face. We should probably get out of his way. He looks like he's in the mood. So there you go. What? Tell us about some of your other novels. Now, do you have other series going on? Multiple series that are threads that are running on different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mentioned the Sexy Cowboy series. That's called Open Skies, and it's 5 books, and that series
Hmm.
is done. And then I mentioned the MMA Fighters series. That's
Hmm.
Fighting for Love, and it's 5 books, and it's done. And then I mentioned Unseen Enemy, which is my only series on audiobook, and it's 8 books, and it's done. And
Wow.
then my other series is Dangerous Curves, which is about a
Hmm.
dive bar called Dangerous Curves. This is where the bodyguards and the MC guys and all the criminals kind of come in. And that's 8 books, and that's done. And then I have this series, which the 4th book comes out on Monday, and it will be 10 books. And then I have another series about wounded warriors coming home from war who have joined a support group. And there's 10 men in the group, and each one of them will get their own book. And I've written 1 book of that series so far. And the thing about my series is they all do interconnect. So a lot of my characters will wander sort of from
Hmm.
series to series. And I think of them like Easter eggs for my readers
Hmm.
because they get all excited when they're reading the MC series book, and in walks King from the Dangerous Curve series, because
Oh,
he's kind of a badass king.
yeah.
He's got some skills. So whenever there's a situation that nobody knows what to do with, they look at each other and they say, "We should call King." So King comes in on this white horse and saves the day. And my readers love that when King makes an appearance. He appears in this book as well. Just a little spoiler alert for my readers. You will see King again in book 4.
You know what I was
So,
thinking? They always have all these hot, steamy sex scenes in the books. Do you have that?
oh God, yeah,
Like,
very explicit. You know
very
what's funny
explicit.
though is no, it's very. But you know what's funny is I read my reviews.
Hmm.
And I've stopped reading them now. After 30 books, I'm like, listen, if you want to read my stuff, fine. If you don't want to read my stuff,
Yeah,
fine
yeah.
also.
It's
But
selling.
in the early days, I was really worried because, of course, like I fell into this by accident. I didn't really know what I was doing, so I thought, oh, I better see what the readers think, and it was funny because I would write a book. It would have, I don't know, let's say 4 quite steamy sex scenes. And I'd read a review that says, "Oh my God, this book was just filth. It was horrible. I threw it out the window. I've never been so offended in my life." And then the next review down would say, "These are the mildest sex scenes I've ever read. I was bored. How does
Really?
anybody?" Yeah. So I'm
Wow.
thinking it's about perspective, I
Yeah.
suppose.
It's
So
about
for some
people's.
people, it's too much, and for some people, it's not enough. But for my readers, like my fans, it's the sweet spot. And I choose that word
That's what
carefully.
everyone's after, the sweet spot. Now,
The
I
sweet
think
spot.
I think you have some books that are made for men on men, right? Am I seeing that
Yeah,
right?
I have one book that is 2 men, and it's my
Uh,
only. And it was kind of an experiment because I wasn't sure how my readers would feel about that because my
mm-hmm,
demographic is largely women.
mm-hmm,
But I had introduced the characters early on
mm-hmm.
separately. And then I thought, you know what? I wonder how it would go over to have like a gay love story. And I'd never written one. So I just thought, you know what? What the heck? What's the worst that can happen? It tanks, and then I
Yeah.
go I go on to book 8 and everybody's happy again. But my readers loved it. They
Mm.
loved the fact that I did something a bit out of the box, a bit adventurous, and it actually sold extremely well. I didn't see any dip in.
Oh.
But I think part of the thing is that people were invested in their story because I had
Uh-huh.
introduced them for so many books, and they were kind of moving closer and closer together with every book. It was advancing, so I think it was inevitable that I ended up with a book for them. Um, so I was actually really gratified to get that response.
There you go. Hey, people love hot sex no matter who's involved, I guess.
That's what I discovered. Yes,
Do you
yes.
ever do you ever make a book where everyone in it is really hot but they're all bad in bed? I think you should make books that are closer to reality.
Do you think I should do that?
No,
I'm not sure how that would sell.
probably
Do I
not.
put that under
Probably not. No.
fiction, or do I put that under
No.
self-help, or do I put
Every
that under
every sex scene is 30 seconds.
and
Um,
disappointing? And
yeah.
everybody turns over angry.
Every's like, was that it? So
No, nobody needs a cigarette.
yeah, nobody needs a cigarette. I used to have one of my girlfriend's girlfriend used to say it's a little hard to fake an orgasm when you can't get past the second and I always thought that was a funny line. She wasn't too happy with her boyfriend, but
It doesn't sound like it. No.
yeah, but I mean, great sex. Everyone's looking for great sex, I suppose. Some people are. Sometimes I'm just looking for a good meal first. Sometimes you give me lasagna or spaghetti or pizza or tacos. I mean, sex, tacos. I don't know. It's a toss up.
It's a toss-up.
So yeah.
Back rub, sex,
Oh,
manicure,
back rub
sex,
now. Back rub.
back
Yeah.
rub. Now we're talking, right?
I'm like a bear. You give me a back rub, I'll fall asleep. So, what
Actually,
else?
do you know what's
Huh?
actually really funny talking about like bad sex and my books? Let's just talk about this for a minute. I get messages from my readers who tell me that I saved their sex life and their
Really?
marriage. Seriously. Okay, it's only been 3 emails over, 8 years, but still 3 emails and 3 marriages that I know of where they would read the sex scene or whatever and they would kind of get all hot and bothered and
Uh huh.
then kind of go and kind of attack the husband, or kind of say, let's do something a bit different. I've just been
Yeah.
inspired and I want to try something a bit different. And he's game, of course.
Yeah.
um, and it's saved marriages and it's improved sex lives. So what can I
Hey,
tell you,
there you
Chris?
go.
I
I'm gonna hand more of my married friends your novels so
Seriously,
they need all the help they can get over that
hand
Mary
it over to
division.
your lady friends and
Yeah.
you'll be attacked. You'll be
Yeah.
attacked.
That's why I always tell people, they're like, Chris, why did you never marry? I never got tired of being happy. So there you go. What's in the future for you? We know you got the book rounding out coming up on Monday, but what's on the horizon beyond that?
More books, more books, more
Who
sex
knew?
scenes,
Who saw that
more
coming?
books. Well, this is the great thing about being self-published is I'm my own boss. I run my own
Yeah.
schedule. I do all my own promotion. I decide. I design my own covers. Like I
Wow.
do everything. So I'm kind of feeling really positive right now. I'm feeling really energetic right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I already have my next book in the series, the fifth book,
Mm-hmm.
started. So I'm on a roll for the
There you
next
go.
book as well.
Keep on rolling, girl.
I
I mean, we
shall.
have prolific authors like yourself. We have on the show, and sometimes they're on the show about every 4 months. We're just like another book. Okay, all right, put them on.
Yeah,
And
seriously. I mean I
so,
write a book when I'm on, like when I'm really on and I can
mhm.
focus and it's just really going well. I can write a book in about 6 weeks. So
Wow,
yeah, no, seriously. It's
wow,
it's so much fun. I mean, it's something that, like I said, I never planned to do. I certainly wasn't educated to do it, but it is just it's just my passion now, and it's so much fun. And I love everything about it. I couldn't picture a better job. And the whole idea that I earn a living and support myself and my son on sex scenes is shocking.
beats joining
But it's my
OnlyFans.
life.
Beats joining
But it's
OnlyFans.
but it's my life. It's my
Yeah,
life and it's how
there
it's
you go.
going. And I wouldn't choose anything different at this point.
Well, women love it. Have you ever been approached by a big publishing house to try and buy you up?
Never. No.
Never. Huh?
No, and it's actually kind of interesting because people keep asking me if any of my books are going to be made into a TV show or a
Yeah,
movie. And I think it's the Sons of Anarchy thing again, where there was a
yeah.
series of Motorcycle Club series. And I keep thinking, my son is in college right now studying film and filmmaking. And I keep thinking, you know what, maybe I should. But then the thought of having to sit down with my son and
Yeah,
plan out
don't do that.
a sex scene. I mean, I feel like that's traumatic for the poor
Yeah,
child.
don't do that.
So,
That's not good.
no, but I would be so open to working with somebody, not a publishing house, because
Yeah.
I've got friends back in Canada who work with publishing houses, and if
Hmm.
they get a book out every 2 years, they're lucky.
Yeah.
I like my publishing schedule. What I would like to do is work with a young filmmaker
Yeah.
and turn some of this stuff into short films or a mini series. I think that would just be so great. I would be so open to that.
Yeah. I think need to get an agent for that sort of thing, because we have people on
Probably.
the show and they have agents and they work out getting options to, they sell the options to Hollywood, and there's some pretty good money in the option business because whether or not they make the movie or not, they pay you, pretty good sum of money for the option to sit on it, and
I think
so
you're right.
you're just
I
getting
think
like it's like 30 to 50 grand just for them to sit on your work, and whether they use it or not, and then eventually it times out and it comes back to you and you're just like,
mhm.
well, that's 30 grand juice I made on top of what I already made. So
I've got a good friend in Canada who is with a publishing house, so she has an agent,
yeah,
and her book has been bought and optioned, and it's just sitting there in
yeah.
like it's just sitting there in
So,
limbo, but
yeah,
the money is in her bank
yeah,
account.
but the money's in her bank account. It's like great. It's, I've had some authors on the show, they've multiple options sold their thing over the years, that gets optioned for a couple years, then somebody else, they let it go, and then somebody else picks it up, and it just kind of swims all around Hollywood. So,
Well, see, here we go. Look, and if anybody listening out there is an agent and they want to pick up an MC series or, a Black Ops series, ex-military series, call me because
there you go.
I'll talk to you about that for sure. I'm
Yeah.
open to it.
We have all the Tom Clancy people on the show. We've had everybody except for Tom Clancy for some reason, and we have, and then they all usually like you have their own series and their own things they're doing with multiple books and plots and characters. Someone should like do a hybrid that's a mix between a romance novel and like a Jack Ryan sort of novel where it's like Red October, only there's hot sex scenes somewhere throughout the
I'm
book.
sure that's been done. Has that not been done?
Might have been
Maybe
a porno.
not.
Might have been a
No,
porno. I
maybe
don't
not.
know.
I mean, like
James
my
Bond,
books,
maybe a little bit. I don't
well,
know.
a bit of that, yeah, but my books definitely have the adventure. I mean, like I said, my guys are sort of bodyguards and ex-military, and when somebody gets kidnapped, they go and save them, and in
Yeah.
thanks, she has wild sex with them. So there's a bit of that, I suppose.
Yeah. It's Friday. That's Friday. That's Fridays around here. So there you go.
Your Fridays sound awesome.
They are, but it's a lot of cocaine, hookers, and blow, and then we spend most of the weekend trying to recover and
I
get
was
our
about to
livers
say.
working. So
And how do your Mondays feel after all that dancing and partying?
it depends how much cocaine we have left over. Anyway, don't do cocaine, folks. Those are jokes. Don't get after me. Anyway, give us your final pitch on the show for people to pick up your book on Monday and your .com.
Listen, Monday's book is going to be probably one of the hottest I've ever written. I mean, I think it's something that my readers are really excited about, the whole threesome thing. It was a lot of fun to write.
The threesome twins.
My imagination went into overdrive, and then another 600% on top of that. So
Wow.
if you're looking for an adventure, if you're looking for romance, if you're looking for sexy, this is the book for you. You can probably read it in 4 or 5 hours, and then double back and read the whole series.
There you go. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
There
Thanks,
you go.
Chris.
It was very steamy. It was a steamy show.
Sexy, slinky.
Slinky.
I know, I love the word slinky. It doesn't even make any sense, but people know what it means.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Thanks, Ron, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Foss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Foss. Chris Foss, one of the TikTokity, all this crazy place on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.